It's Friday, June 30th, and time for your Barbados Today News Update. So glad you can join us. I'm Fernella Wedderburn. The International Monetary Fund says it's ready and willing to come to Barbados' rescue, but it warns that slower growth and a doubling of the domestic cost of living are on the immediate horizon as a result of the austerity measures announced in the recent budget. The IMF issued the warning yesterday after its team met with Finance Minister Chris Sinclair and other key officials, including International Business and Industry Minister Donville Innes and Acting Central Bank Governor Cliviston Haynes. The officials say the economy, which registered 1.6% growth in 2016 and a further 2% in the first quarter of 2017, is likely to falter as a direct result of Sinclair's $542 million austerity package, which also stands to significantly affect the overall cost of living. The IMF team, which also met with opposition leader Mia Mottley and members of the private sector, also cautioned that domestic inflation, which stood at 3.2% at the end of last year, was likely to accelerate to 6.7% by the end of this year. In other news this Friday, school is not the place for sexuality to be displayed implicitly or explicitly. So says President of the National Council of Parent-Teacher Association, Sean Gibbs, in response to a call by the Barbados Gays, Lesbians and All Sexuals Against Discrimination for educators to be tolerant of students who may be attracted to the same sex. Contributing to Wednesday's Global Shippers panel on national issues, BGLAD's President Donya Piggott said she was concerned that the island schools continued to mirror society's discrimination of alternative lifestyles, adding that pupils should be allowed to express their attractions to each other as freely as their heterosexual counterparts. But Gibbs makes it clear that school was no place for sexuality of any kind to be shown.
What I would say is that schools are not for or they don't cater to the open expression of sexuality or sexual preferences. So to make accommodation for gays and lesbians is a no-no. Sorry, we're dealing with education centers that have a purpose. However, to be able to embrace all and treat them as equal, that is what we do. But I believe that the system protects the system has the responsibility in terms of government to protect those who are vulnerable. And I see persons who are impressionable as also vulnerable. And we must protect those young minds and make sure that they are paid based on societal norms and practices. And
crop thieves beware. The long-awaited Praedial Larceny Bill may soon come into effect. Agriculture Minister Dr. David Estwick says the bill is now complete and waiting Parliament's stamp of approval. He told reporters following the launch of his ministry's e-platform for registered agricultural producers and buyers that the new laws will see, among other things, steeper fines and longer jail terms for perpetrators.
There are going to be significant increases. And there are some other provisions that that will be looked at. That is, the old legislation only spoke within the magistrate jurisdiction. This other legislation takes you to the top end of the magistrate's jurisdiction. For example, for a first-time offender, let's say if in the old legislation, if I remember certainly correctly, it was $2,500 for first fine, and the second fine would be $5,000. Those are now significantly enhanced. And then there are also a provision that works within the concept of how the drug court works. So in other words, the penalty is directly related to quantities. So therefore, if you steal large quantities, therefore you end up before the High Court now, as opposed to the Magistrate Court.
And unlike the old legislation, which only required farmers to be registered with the Ministry of Agriculture, the minister says vendors will now be required to be licensed in order to sell agricultural produce.
The new legislation allows for movement beyond registration of farmers to registration of vending of agricultural produce, which is a critical step. So as long as you're out there selling agricultural produce, you got to say where you get it from. Right? And then the inspectors who have specific powers that will be managed under the police that have certain powers to deal with certain things if you can verify that you're a registered one and that you are an agricultural vendor too with the certification. And then thirdly, you have the receipt structure to follow me. See what I'm saying? No. Now, obviously, that ain't going to stop a man from thief if he's a big thief. Right? The fact of the matter is that it allows us a framework, but no framework is perfect. Okay, it's not perfect in any other countries that have more resources than we have. But I'm confident that the other elements within the legislation and some of the things that we are talking about will redound significantly to managing down the incidence of Praedial larceny.
In sports, struggling West Indies face powerhouses India in the pivotal third one-day international today, desperately needing a victory to halt the rut and make an actual contest of the 5-match series. They entered the first game of the doubleheader at the Vivian Richards Cricket Stadium 1-0 down, following their 105-run defeat in the second ODI in Trinidad last Sunday. Now, in an attempt to turn around their fortunes, West Indies have made 2 changes to their 13-man squad, calling up the uncapped pair of Kyle Hope and Sunil Ambrose at the expense of the out-of-shape duo of Kieran Powell and Jonathan Carter. Now, that game will be played in Antigua.
There's regional and international news after this short break.
Good morning, Phillips & Company, may I help? Oh, certainly. One moment, please. Miss Phillips?
Yeah?
There's a lady on the line from the Nation newspaper who would like to speak with you.
The Nation? Will she go on?
Well, they're trying to sell us some ads.
Look, don't make me laugh this morning. Ads in the Nation? They're real expensive, and for what here, nobody ain't buying them papers no more. Nobody ain't want to steal news. I hear reading Barbados today online for free. So I tell she thanks for calling, but no thanks. We just advertising Barbados today, families. Tell she is Barbados today all the way.
Okay, I'll pass on the message. Mom, are you still there? Oh, she put it down.
The Barbados Today, news you can trust.
We continue with news from the region. In St. Lucia, a government official says the laws governing domestic abuse on the islands need revising. And the Minister of Domestic Affairs, Dr. Gail Rigobert, is promising to take a closer look at the regulations as well as those that govern pornographic material. More in this report from HTS News Force.
Thus far in 2017, almost half of St. Lucia's homicides have been domestic violence related. Additionally, in June, the internet was bombarded by at least 4 disturbing sexual explicit videos featuring young people. Prior to last Tuesday's House sitting, Rigobert disclosed to the media that she recently met with the Attorney General, Acting Commissioner of Police, and the National Security Minister to discuss legislation on domestic violence.
That legislation dates back to the early 1990s, and so we have flagged it as one of the pieces of legislation in urgent need of review. We also recognize, given the circulation of recent pornographic pieces, especially involving young people, that we ought to assess the extent to which our laws adequately allow for us to respond to those kinds of incidents.
Dr. Rigobert plans to conduct a comprehensive review of laws on sexual assault crimes.
And finally, Venezuela's Supreme Court bans the Attorney General from leaving the country and has also frozen all of her assets. The court says Luis Ortega Diaz, once a staunch government ally, had committed serious errors. According to reports, the accusations against her referred to the appointment of judges. The embattled AG is expected to face a hearing on July 4th, and some analysts say she may eventually be put on trial. The move comes amid growing political turmoil in Venezuela. And on that note, we come to the end of our news and sports update, but there is more on our website, www.barbadostoday.bb. You can also subscribe to our e-paper, email updates, and like us on Facebook. We're also on Izumi Media and bus terminals and screenplay at supermarkets and gas stations near you. Or you can also tune in to Mix 96.9 FM for the very latest. I'm Fernella Wedderburn. Good morning.